I just realized that I do this all the time. Guys, it's really embarrassing. I apologize.
All right, you're good to go.
Okay, I call this the 10th meeting of the 63rd session of the Student Senate to order at 7:04 p.m. on October 7th, 2020. We have taken roll as people have arrived into the meeting. We have no one here to speak in public forum. Clerk Fox, would you mind reading the attendance for us?
We have 41 senators present, 4 excused, simple majority is 22, and 2/3 present is 28.
Thank you very much. We can now move into the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Senator Martin with a second. All those in favor, please click yes on your Zoom screen. Again, you just need to click the participants and then the little green yes button to vote yes. You can vote no if you would like to as well. Still waiting on one more person to vote. With 41 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions, this passes. We have approved the minutes. We can now move on to approval of the agenda. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Great, seeing none, I am now looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Senator Hassan with the second. You can now click yes or no on your Zoom screen again. Still waiting on 2 people, 1 person. With 41 in favor and 0 against, this passes. Thank you all very much. We can now move on to item 6, the consent agenda. There is nothing in the consent agenda, so we can move into unfinished business. Item A, the clerk will read.
Unfinished business, item A is SB 63-059, the Scholarship Committee Transferal Act. Introduced by Senator Crystal Zacharias, along with Chairperson Maggie Hull, Senator John Kirk, Senator Jacob Tubach, and Senator Sahadi Jipton for themselves. The objective is the Scholarship Committee Transferal Act shall serve to amend Article 1 and subsequent status of the association bylaws to transfer the duties and responsibilities of the association scholarships from the Standing Committee on Academic Affairs to the Standing Committee on Budget and Finance. This act will clarify the duties of each committee and put all financial duties of the association under Committee of Budget and Finance, as well as move the allocation duties of the McKinney-Vento Scholarship to the Association Hardship Fund Committee. This is referred to Committee of the Whole from Ways and Means. It is now laid upon the table with the 2/3 vote required.
Before we move into the debate period on this item, are there any last-minute questions about the Scholarship Committee Transferal Act? Great, seeing none, we can move into the debate period on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Senator Liu.
I'd just like to say for the record that this was something that I did, that Senator Hull brought up to me prior to submitting this bill to the Senate floor. And this was brought up in the Academics Committee. And on behalf of the Academics Committee, that we do support the transferring of the scholarship responsibilities to the Budget and Finance.
Thank you, Senator Liu. Do we have anyone who would like to speak in negation for this bill? Great, seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Senator Majors.
Yeah, I think that since both chair people that would be involved in this legislation, the academics chair as well as the budget and finance chair, are in favor of the legislation. And I think that it's a good consolidation of jobs. I guess the budget and finance should be in charge of all funds. And with that being said, I would like to motion to pass with unanimous consent of the Senate.
With a motion to pass by the unanimous consent of the Senate, are there any objections to this motion? Please raise your hand. Senator Zacharias with an objection, so it does not pass by the unanimous consent. Do I have a speech in negation for this bill? Do I have a speech in affirmation of this bill? Seeing none, we can now move into the voting period on this bill. We will be voting on iClicker Reef, so please get out your apps or your however you connect to it, and you should be able to go ahead and vote. Remember that A is yes, B is no, and C is abstain. And the only reason you should be abstaining is if you have a conflict of interest. I will wait for all 44 people to vote. Still waiting on 6 people to vote. Five people to vote. 4 people. I'll keep annoying you with the numbers if you don't vote. 2 people. 1 person. There it is. There it is. Okay. With 42 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstention, this bill passes. We can now move on to item B. The clerk will read.
Item B is SB 63-060, Supreme Court Reconciliation and Management Act, introduced by Senator Mounts, Senator Thomas, Senator Lozano, Senator Smith, and Chairperson Majors for themselves. The objective is the Supreme Court Reconciliation and Management Act works to eliminate concerning and redundant wording surrounding the nature and duties of the Supreme Court. This act will make Section 3 of the bylaws which concerns the court and its duties, as well as the duties of its members. This is referred to Committee of the Whole from Ways and Means. It is now laid upon the table with a 2/3 vote required.
There have been some changes made to this bill in the Ways and Means Committee last night. So I will ask the clerk to share her screen so we can go over the changes that were made, just so it's clear to everyone what those are.
Okay, can you see my screen, Speaker Babin?
Yes.
Awesome. So the first change will be under section 4, right here in red, item 5. In the event the position is vacant temporarily, the Chief Justice may temporarily appoint another justice to the position at the beginning of a meeting. If the position becomes permanently vacant, the Chief Justice may delegate the work to another justice temporarily under the position until the position is filled. Second change is chapter 2, section 1, item 2. If there are any circumstances in which there is a potential FERPA violation due to discussion or presented information, the Chief Justice may declare a closed meeting for the duration of discussion on the topic and ask all non-participants to leave the meeting room in order to protect student privacy. Once presentation of information or discussion on the matter is concluded, the court must go back into open session. And then the third and final, I believe, will be under section 2. Now, item 6, the court may also author concurring opinions.
Thank you, Clerk Fox. Are there any questions? Senator Mounts.
Actually, there was one more change. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I apologize. Chairperson Majors, I can't open the document. Could you potentially pull up that last change? It was the one talking about how the Chief Justice got nominated and put into the position.
Tayton, you're muted.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So I marked all the changes that I thought were made, but I must have missed one. So section 2 is the Chief Justice of the Association. The Chief Justice shall be nominated by another justice and must be elected by a majority of the justices from within the Supreme Court is a change. It's just not highlighted. So it's section 2, or chapter 1, section 2, subsection 2.
Okay. Did everyone understand what he said and read? Okay. Senator Zacharias, did you have a question?
Yes. So there was the part about privacy in closed meetings. Does the Supreme Court only view student cases, or do they also handle like appeals for like traffic courts in the terms of faculty?
Yeah, so they can hear faculty cases as well.
So would we need to change that language to be inclusive of all people on campus, not just our students?
There shouldn't be any FERPA violations if it's not a student.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions about these changes? Senator Day.
Yeah, sorry, I think I missed that, but with the last change that was just identified, who appoints the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court now? I
It's
kind
just elected by a majority.
of what?
The Supreme Court.
Okay.
They just don't have to be nominated. This just says that they have to be nominated by another justice. Senator Minette.
Okay, I had a question about section 2, number 9, if there were any changes to that and if there's any planned changes to happen with the wording there.
That is, I cannot answer that one. So if an author would like to answer that question, the text reads, the Chief Justice shall retain the authority to designate a member of the court as a representative of the court when necessary.
Oh, okay.
I can actually answer that part. So this was just in the case of like, if the Chief Justice was unable to make it to a committee meeting or something to speak on behalf of the court, then the Chief Justice can nominate a person to represent that, as well as to just speak on behalf of the court as a whole. So that's the main idea behind that.
Are there, Senator Minette, did you have another question?
Yeah, it was section 3, number 4, with the individual justices being able to introduce their own cases. Was wondering if you were planning on keeping that in there or if there were any changes going to be happening there.
The committee discussed it and we decided just to keep it as it is, where individual justices can introduce cases. We just feel like it's, at least at this time, it's better for them to keep or retain that power. That way they can introduce cases that they think is necessary. So they have.
Are there any other questions? Great. So before we start, I would like to introduce an amendment to the floor. So I'm going to send it in the chat box. So this is just, so this will be made to chapter 2, section 1, closed meetings, item 2. So one of the changes we just made with FERPA. This just makes it very clear that like this goes through and adds that it goes with Kansas Open Meetings Act and Kansas Open Records Act and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. just lists it out better. It's just a language change. It doesn't actually change the meaning of it or anything. So is this a friendly amendment?
Yes, as long as it is for all the other authors.
Cool. So this is a friendly amendment. So item 3 will just read as I just, or item 2, not 3. The 3 is random. So item 2 will now read what I have added in the chat, which I will read for transparency's sake. It says, if there are any circumstances in which there is a potential privacy violation due to discussion or presented information, meetings of this hearing shall be allowed to hold the status of permanent select status and shall be considered closed pursuant under Kansas Open Meetings Act. Records of permanent special hearings shall be considered closed pursuant under Kansas Open Records Act and under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Once presentation of information or discussion on the matter is concluded, the court must go back into open session. Great. I have another amendment that I would like to present, and that amendment is to delete item 4 under section 3, which reads, individual justices may introduce cases for the court to determine whether the court will hear the case. So I will introduce that as an amendment, which I'm assuming is not friendly based on conversation that was just put forward. So I will give an authorship speech about the reason I think that this needs to go. So understanding the way that courts work in every court in the country is that courts are not there to be, I just had the word, they don't search for their own cases. So they are not police. They don't get to enforce, they're not law enforcement. They are only there to determine justice. Allowing them to come forward with their own cases would make them law enforcement officers, which is not the intended purpose of what they do. It doesn't make sense for a court to be able to say, we think you broke this law, so you have to come before us. And then there's not really a case because the court has already decided that you broke the law and they need to hear that case. So them introducing it to themselves puts them in strange positions with whether or not they can even hear a case because of, well, they've already decided that it's not okay because they brought it before their court. So that it just doesn't make sense for them to be able to introduce their own cases. So I would like to get rid of that. Senator Majors.
So in terms of the argument regarding no court in the nation is like this, in student government, our purpose is not to exactly emulate the federal processes. In fact, we have a unicameral legislature while every state and our nation, except for Nebraska, has a bicameral legislature. It's not our sole purpose to reflect exactly what the government does. I do understand the concern though, however, and if the Senate does want to remove this portion,
Are you asking a question or are you debating?
Not the debate period.
Okay, thank you.
This is a debate. Apologize.
No, that's okay. I do need a second before we can continue debate.
Second.
So Senator Day with a second. Thank you. Are there any questions about the amendment? Okay, great. Now we can do debate. Senator Majors, go ahead.
Yes, I apologize. I'll try to consolidate my response given that I gave it at the wrong time. So basically what I'm saying is it's not our purpose to emulate the federal government. I really think that since the court does not receive a substantial amount of cases, allowing the justices to bring cases to the court, not necessarily like every case that a justice would bring to the court would mean that they were directly partial. It's just like that there's outreach being conducted by the Supreme Court because some people might not know that the process exists. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just it's really hard to find Supreme Court cases as it is. So I think that it would be necessary, but if the Senate disagrees, then I'm fine with this alteration. I'll still be voting in favor.
Thank you, Senator Majors. Do we have anyone who would like to speak in negation or in affirmation? Sorry. Senator Day, I know you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, okay, so I'm glad this was introduced because I likely would have done the same thing and I will likely, not to sound deterministic, but if I think this section is important enough and dangerous enough that if it stays in the bill, I'm going against the whole thing. Like this is, and the reason I say that is the courts are not a legislative body, and this effectively turns the courts into a legislative body in a sense because they can introduce their own cases and decide without any input from the other constituents of the association what is true and what is not. I don't think that is right. I think that gives them too much power, and it gives them an authority that is not really, like Speaker Babbitt said, not really vested in them by any court in the country. And I get not wanting to like just totally model ourselves on real governments, but I think this is important enough and relevant enough. I think the reason that it's not true in any other government is for concerns like this.
Thank you, Senator Day. Do we have another speech in negation? Senator Mounts.
So I'd like to emulate the feelings of Chairperson Majors. First of all, however, I think specifically when it comes to the individual justices and what the former senator said about them becoming their own legislative body, especially when it comes to this part, first of all, it's bylaws. So if the abuse of power ever does come from the Supreme Court, this can easily be removed under a 2/3 vote of the Senate. Second of all, same situation, if the court happens to make a decision that the Senate disagrees with or has an issue with, the Senate can pass amendments to the parts of the Constitution that they think the Supreme Court's making bad decisions against. And so effectively, they can just get around these decisions as long as the entire Senate agrees on how to do so. So I feel like keeping this part, especially right now, is important to stimulate any potential cases that might come up, especially with issues of redundancy, because I know there is still a lot in our governing documents. So I feel like keeping this right now is the best decision.
Thank you, Senator Senator Mounts. I apologize. Do we have another speech in affirmation, Senator Hull?
I think that we should do obviously the change, because when it comes to the body, a lot of what Speaker Babin said, I feel is true as well. I would rather the court advocate for people to just in general bring cases, not them out searching for the cases, right? If we're doing outreach properly, if we're letting people know that this avenue exists, then the cases will flow on their own instead of people like searching for cases. So I feel like the court should spend more time advocating for themselves in the sense of people knowing that this process exists instead of trying to find those cases where they might be.
Thank you, Senator Hull. Do we have another speech in negation? Senator Zacharias.
So I understand where everyone's coming from in this. The only thing that I think of when talking about removing this is the speculation that they will bring more cases forward and they will actively search for cases. Currently, the Supreme Court has this power and they're not doing that. I think it's more of a way to fast track injustices that they may spot on campus and bring student issues to light faster. I see no difference in this particular section than if a justice sat down with one of their classmates or peers and walked them through the application problem. I just think it makes it less hard on the student. So I'm not going to be supporting this amendment because I don't think it's a concern.
Thank you, Senator Zacharias. Do we have another speech in affirmation? Senator Liu.
I do agree with the aspect of what Senator Major said about it's not our job to emulate every aspect of government. But with this amendment, I think this comes down to more of issue of bias and of a balance of power. If we allow the court to bring cases to their own, what's to stop them from bringing any case they want to the court and doing what they want? It effectively gives them it effectively puts too much power in the hands of too few. Yes, we can override any court decisions with a constitutional amendments and or amendments to bylaws, but in the Senate, we have to convince about 30 or 40 people to agree. In the court, you only got to convince 4 or 5. So the difference is the amount of people you need to convince and how to do that. And to what Senator Zacharias said about the difference of the justices sitting down with classmates and walking them through the process, sure, they can still do that. I think that is a great thing for the justices to do. If a justice sees a issue that they believe ought to be addressed, I would encourage justices to go out to their constituents, to go out to other students, and have these students to bring up these cases to the Supreme Court. So all in all, I think this amendment is very important to maintain the balance of power and the avenue for allowing justices to. There is still a roundabout avenue to allow justices to bring up their own cases in the Supreme Court, but I do not believe that justices should be allowed to unilaterally bring up cases by themselves.
Do we have a speech, or thank you, Senator Liu. Do we have a speech in negation? Seeing none, do we have another speech in affirmation? Okay, I would like to give one final set of comments about a speech in affirmation. I think it's important for us to recognize that the court does not have the responsibility of getting more cases. It's also not the responsibility of the Senate for us to ensure that they have more cases. If there aren't cases, there aren't cases. If students aren't bringing forward cases, then there's nothing for the court to do, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We shouldn't be giving them more work just for the sake of them having work. That's not their intended purpose. Their intended purpose is to exist as a need-only entity. So it's not our responsibility to give them cases. It's not their responsibility to give themselves cases. They have cases when it's necessary. So I don't think that, and I think Senator Liu put it very, very well, that we don't need to give them unilaterally the power to just, decide that they don't like a Senate bill that they can then bring forward to themselves and decide all by themselves that that is not something that they like and that we can't do. So I am fully in support of this. Obviously, I put it forward. So thank you all very much. That will be the end of our debate period. We will now move into the voting period. We will be voting on our iClicker app. So pull it up and it should be good. Again, I will be waiting for all 45 now people to vote. So I'm waiting on 5 more people. I'm waiting on 3 more people. 2 more people. 1 more person. You have 5 seconds to vote before I consider it an abstention. All right, that's going to be an abstention. With that, we have 33 in favor, 11 against, and 1 abstention. So this passes. The bill will now read, well, basically, we just got rid of item 4 in section 3, and individual justices are no longer able to introduce cases to the court. Okay, we can now move into debate on the bill as a whole. Would anyone like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak in negation on this bill? All right, seeing none, we can now move into the voting period. And we did that real quick, so you have to give me a second to make my screen look right.
Senator Majors has his hand up.
Yeah, Senator Majors, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to speak in favor, but it wouldn't register my hand whenever you called for it. Apologize.
Go ahead, then. We will hold off on voting. I
Sorry,
apologize for the random question you guys got, but go ahead, Senator Majors.
Sorry, I'll keep it really brief. I just want to say that if we are to pass this and then later on tonight do also pass the committee to revise the Supreme Court, I think that would be good because even if there are certain things that you do not like within the legislation, there could be a committee. What?
The committee has already passed.
Okay, yeah, so there is a committee that has already been passed, rather. And so they can make any alterations. This is just a baseline, so if you would support it, it would be necessary.
Thank you, Senator Majors. Are there any speeches in negation? Senator Day.
This is not really a negation of the whole bill, but I do have one section that concerns me, and that is the, if I'm reading this correctly, and if I misunderstand, please let me know. But I think it's important for the Chief Justice to be appointed by the Senate directly instead of just being selected by the other associate justices. I'm not going to motion for anything about that yet. I just think that not only in a real government, like at the federal level, obviously the Chief Justice usually appointed of the Supreme Court, usually appointed by the Senate. I think it is an important check on the Supreme Court's power. So I'm just throwing that out there. Tell me if that's a stupid idea. So.
Thank you, Senator Day. You know, if anyone has any ideas for anything that you would like to see changed that you don't think is necessarily something we need to do right now, you can send me an email with whatever that is, and we can go ahead and make that change during the task force. So any of those kinds of conversations can be had during the task force. Shoot me an email with any of your ideas about the Supreme Court if you're not on the task force. But yeah, so anything that you don't find absolutely necessary to fail the bill, please bring those forward and we can have those conversations during the task force. Great. So are there any other speeches about this bill before we move into the debate period or the voting period? Great. Seeing none, we will now move into the voting period. Go ahead and vote on your iClicker. Still waiting on 2 people. One person. You have 5 seconds. Okay. With that, we have 44 in favor and 1 abstention. So this passes. We can now move on to item C. The clerk will read.
Item C is SB 63-064, extending the working hours of the Director of Media, introduced by Chief of Staff Kathleen Short for herself. The Director of Media is consistently working past the required 10 hours per week in the position as outlined in the 63rd Session Rules and Regulations Manual. This bill is to make it so the required hours accurately reflect the hours that are put in by this position, adding an additional 5 paid hours every week. This will allow the Director of Media to produce more content for the association's website and social media, as well as graphics for the student body to understand better the workings of the association. This is referred to Committee of the Whole from Budget and Finance, is now laid upon the table with a 2/3 vote required.
Thank you very much. Are there any last minute questions before we move into the debate period on this item? Great, seeing none, we can now move into the debate period. I am looking for a speech in affirmation on this bill. Senator Hull.
Yeah, so I am going to be supporting this bill because I think it is very important for us to be, number one, supporting our students and paying them right for the work that they're doing. Because otherwise we would not be able to do right as a Senate or even as an association what we do without that outreach to students. And I truly think that this should pass. So Ms. Sarah can get her hours and we can get really good quality things that we can put out to the student body.
Thank you, Senator Hull. I am now looking for a speech in negation on this bill. Seeing none, I'm looking for another speech in affirmation on this bill. Senator Zacharias. You're muted, Senator Zacharias.
Sorry about that. So I completely support this. I believe that Ms. Sarah should get paid for the work that she is doing. However, I would like to make an amendment just to clarify this bill. There are things that I think kind of contradict themselves. One, we're saying she's working 20 hours a week and she needs to be compensated. But two, we're also saying that if we increase her work, like her hours, then she'll be able to produce more content. So I would like to strike the part in the introduction where it says that this change will be done to make more content, just so we don't put any expectations on Ms. Sarah that would stress her out even more. This amendment, this change to her hours is supposed to help her get the work done that she's unable to do. And I don't want it to translate in any way where it could possibly harm her and have expectations for her to do even more than she's already doing.
Do we have a second on this amendment?
Second.
Senator Hull with a second. As the author is not present, we will do a vote on this amendment. So
can you repeat the amendment really quick?
Senator Zacharias, go ahead.
I'm just gonna, all right, go ahead.
So where is it? Basically, it's the part where it says that this will allow for Ms. Sarah to make more content. Any mention of that, which I'm trying to look for. And
So line 5.
Yes.
I think it would be just delete all of that last sentence. So from halfway through line 4 to the end of line 6.
Yep, that works.
The positive thing is it's not an actual piece of legislation. It's just the summary of the bill. So it doesn't actually go anywhere in the record. So I don't know if you necessarily have to cast a vote on it since it's not actual legislation. It's just a summary of the bill. So I would advise that you can just cut it and just take it off the summary.
I'm going to do a vote on it anyway. I think that it's understanding that it does make a difference in how it could be interpreted. I will have people do a vote on it. So we'll do a vote real quick. I see no need for a debate or anything like that. So we can just move into voting and you can vote on iClicker. So go ahead. Again, we're voting on the amendment to delete that section and not on the bill as a whole. Again, A is yes, B is no, C is abstain. Waiting on 10 people. It was seconded by Senator Hull, Gabe.
Okay, thank you.
Waiting on 2 people. You have 5 seconds. All right. With 40 in favor, 4 against, and 1 abstention, this bill passes, or this amendment passes. So that section will now read without the portion about her producing more content. So thank you very much, Senator Zacharias. We can now move back into the debate period on the bill as a whole. I am now looking for a speech in negation. Senator Martin.
I don't have a speech in negation. My hand just won't go down for some reason.
Okay. Sorry, Senator Majors, did you have a speech in negation?
Not necessarily a negation. It's just a concern that I think would best fit here. I think this is a good piece of legislation, especially with the person we have doing the job. It's necessary. The only thing I'd say is I'd caution against doing too much of this without primary review. I think that this might show that we need to establish some sort of committee. I know that Advisor Fonseca as well as the treasurer are going to work together on senator hours and pay, but I think that it might be best that either a current committee is delegated with that power with the inclusion of, the advisor as well as the treasurer, or there should be an entirely new committee created. That's just my only caution here and concern. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Senator Majors. Do we have another speech in affirmation of this bill? Senator Mosqueda.
So I will fully support this because having worked with her personally and hearing her last meeting, I could say that she has the right intentions and her work is phenomenal and being completely transparent and making sure that we're represented well. So I'm saying that I will fully support it.
Thank you, Senator Mosqueda. I am now looking for a speech in negation. Seeing none, I'm looking for another speech in affirmation. Seeing none, we can now move into the voting period on this item. Again, we're voting on iClicker, so please pull out your iClicker apps and go ahead and vote. And we are voting on the whole bill this time. Again, A is yes, B is no, C is abstain. Still waiting on 4 people, 2 people, 1 person. There really do just be 1 person who doesn't want to vote today. You have 5 seconds. All right. With 42 in favor, 1 against, and 2 abstentions, this bill passes. We can now move on to item D. The clerk will read.
Item D is SB 63-062, approving the Uniting Bold Sisters Student Organization, introduced by Taylon Fox, President of Uniting Bold Sisters, and Advisor Gabriel Fonseca. For ourselves, objective, grant the recognition of the Uniting Bold Sisters Student Organization. This is referred to Committee on Ways and, I assume it's supposed to be referred to Committee of the Whole from Ways and Means.
That it is. That it is.
Awesome. Vote required. It's laid upon the table with simple majority required.
Are there any last minute questions about this bill before we move into the debate period? Seeing none, we can now move into the debate period. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Is there anyone who would like to speak in negation of this bill? Seeing none, we will now move into the voting period. And I ask because I know there are many of us in here, if you are a member of this organization, please abstain from voting. Still waiting on 10 people to vote. 5 people to vote. 2 people to vote. Still waiting on 2 people. You have 5 seconds. Okay. With 36 in favor, 2 against, and 7 abstentions, this bill passes. We can now move on to item B. The clerk will read.
Item E is FB 63-009, Mariam Abdirad Individual Conference Funding, introduced by Senator Maggie Hull for herself. The objective is to authorize the allocation of $100 to Mariam Abdirad. Referred to Committee of the Whole from Budget and Finance. The vote required is simple majority and it's now laid upon the table.
Thank you. Are there any last minute questions about this bill before we move into the debate period? Seeing none, we can now move into the debate period. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in negation of this bill? Seeing none, we can now move into the vote period on this item. Maybe I am once again asking you to pull up your iClicker apps and give it a good vote. Remember, A is yes, B is no, and C is abstain. And you should only be abstaining if you have a conflict of interest. Still waiting on 5 people to vote. 3 people to vote. I'll give you 10 seconds to vote. All right. With 41 in favor, 1 against, and 3 abstentions, this bill passes. We can now move on to item F. The clerk will read.
Item F is FB 63-010, Saima Esfandiarpour Individual Conference Funding, introduced by Senator Maggie Hull for herself. The objective is to authorize the allocation of $100 to Saima Esfandiarpour. This is referred to Committee of the Whole for Budget and Finance. The vote required, it's laid upon the table, so simple majority.
Are there any questions about this bill before we moved into the debate period? Great, seeing none, we will now move into the debate period. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in negation of this bill? Seeing none, we can now move into the voting period on this item. Go ahead and pull out those iClicker apps and vote. Once again, A is yes, B is no, and C is abstain. Seven people need to vote. 5 people need to vote. 3 people need to vote. 10 seconds left in the voting period. Okay. 41 in favor, 0 against, and 3 abstentions. So this bill passes. We can now move into item 8, new business. Item A, the clerk will read.
Item A is SB 63-066, appoint Vaishali Sharma to the position of Election Commissioner, introduced by Vice President Haas for herself. The objective is by the authority vested in her as Vice President by the Constitution and the laws of the Wichita State University Student Government Association, direct the appointment of Vaishali Sharma to the position of Election Commissioner. This is referred to Committee of the Whole. Vote required. It's laid upon the table, so 2/3 vote.
Vice President Haas, do you have an authorship speech about this bill?
Yeah, Vaishali wowed me in their interview, and I'm really excited to bring their passion onto the Election Commission because they're passionate about it. They're wanting to get involved, and they want to see the behind the scenes of the election. And they expressed a skill for event planning, and so I'm excited to see that go into effect.
Is Vaishali here to speak on their own behalf?
No, so she is not. They emailed me earlier stating that they would not be attending. They were working at the desk from 4 till 7:30. So I said, if you are able to get on the call after, please do, but at this time they're not on the call.
Okay, so are there any questions for Vice President Haas? Okay, seeing none, we can now move into the debate period on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in negation on this bill? Senator Day.
Okay, so considering that she can't speak for us, and this is not against her, I don't know the applicant that well. Can we table this until later in the meeting if she's able to attend?
You can motion for that, yes.
Yes, okay, so I will do that. I motion to table the the appointment until she's able to attend, if at all possible.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Senator Thompson with the second. We can now move into the voting period, so just click yes or no on your Zoom screen. Again, you click participants, and there's a little green yes or a red no.
Senator Day, what is your motion to table till when?
She's
They're
able
able
to.
Tonight's meeting or in any meeting? You got to be specific.
Any, I'll say.
So I would caution, simply because what if they're unable to make it due to work or scheduled or issues like that? There's no requirement for people to address the Senate for confirmation. So I would just throw a caution of, if the candidate is unable to attend because of work or other reasons, that shouldn't be a de facto, but I would, again, just throwing that out there of cautioning you all of making that a precedent. But if that's what you all want to do, then I think just know that if she's unable to attend, we'll have to pick up the bill eventually.
Yeah, okay, I think that's fair. I'm not going to withdraw it quite yet. Okay, I'll go ahead and withdraw it.
Senator Martin.
I was just suggesting that maybe we just change it to extending it for tonight's meeting, and if they can't do it tonight, then we can just go ahead and move on.
Okay, so I would recommend that the motion be, I move to table this bill until either the candidate is here to speak on their own behalf, or we reach the end of the meeting, or we reach, I would say, the end of the new business section.
Okay, and would I need to make that motion, or would Senator Day need to do that?
Anyone can make that motion. So Senator Day, go ahead.
Let's try again. I move to, I'm trying to remember this, to
Table.
table until the end of new business or until she's able to attend. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Senator Sahel with the second. We can now move into the voting period, so please click either yes or no on your Zoom screen. Again, participants, green yes, red no. I'm gonna give it like 10 seconds. With 39 in favor, 0 against, and 5 abstentions, this bill, or this motion passes. So we will now table this until either the end of new business or until they arrive to speak on their own behalf. We can now move on to item B. Clerk, go ahead and read.
Item B is SB 63-067, appoint Scott Anderson to the position of Applied Studies Senator, introduced by Vice President Haas for herself and Speaker Olivia Babin for herself. By the authority vested in her as Vice President, by the Constitution and the laws of the Wichita State University Student Government Association, direct the appointment of Scott Anderson to the position of Applied Studies Senator. This is referred to Committee of the Whole. It is laid upon the table with a 2/3 vote required.
Thank you, Clerk Fox. Vice President Haas, your authorship speech.
Yeah, Scott is very excited to represent the College of Applied Studies, and I think he'll do a really great job of that. He was very respectful and kind in his interview, and I really enjoyed speaking with him. So I hope you guys do as well.
Thank you, Vice President Haas. Scott, I do believe is here. So if you'd like to speak on your own behalf, Scott, go ahead.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Scott Anderson. I'm a first-year student at Wichita State. I'm originally from Ulysses, Kansas, and just been here in the Wichita area for 3 years now. And I am studying to, for my major is sport management, and I'm just looking at expanding my connections here at Wichita State and just making the best of my experience while on campus.
Thank you very much, Scott. Are there any questions for the nominee? Senator Sahel.
Scott, do you have any plans when you're coming to Senate? Do you have any plans that you will be doing for the Wichita State students or not?
What I kind of envision right now is just hopefully I can be a good representative, not only for students in the Applied Studies Department, but also students of returning adults, because I'm a returning adult student. So I'm just looking at possibly being the best representative of both worlds, and just making those connections with both, and doing it in a professional kind of way.
Are there any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you very much, Scott. You can either stay or leave for debate, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. So we will now move into the debate period on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this nominee? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in negation of this nominee? Seeing none, we will now move into the voting period on this item. If my computer will cooperate with me. All right, go ahead and vote on iClicker. A is yes, B is no, and C is abstain. Still waiting on 2 people to vote. I will give it 5 more seconds for 2 people to vote. Okay. With 41 in favor and 3 abstentions, this bill passes. Congratulations, Scott. You are now a senator in the 63rd session. And Vaishali is in our waiting room, so we can move back to item A. I will not require us to read it again. So Vaishali, if you're in our meeting, please go ahead and speak on behalf of yourself as to why you should be an election commissioner.
Hi, I'm sorry, I just joined in. Were you talking to me?
Yeah, you can go ahead and speak about yourself and why you are good for the position of election commissioner.
Okay. Hi guys, I am Vaishali Sharma, and I am a sophomore here in mechanical engineering with minoring in mathematics. I would like to be a senator, or as you guys would like to say, the election commissioner, because I love all the behind the scenes I love all the behind the stage scenes, to handle everything about the event, to handle all the on stage and off stage things. I look at the event as a, presenting it to the audience, and the audience would have to see it, everything perfect on the on stage. And that thing will only be possible if the off stage things like behind the scenes are going perfect and according to the rules.
Thank you very much, Vishali. Are there any questions for the nominee?
I don't think so.
Senator Sahel, do you have a question?
Vishali, my question will be, what will you bringing to the table as an election commissioner?
As an election commissioner, okay, so the thing is that if you're hosting all the votings and the elections, I really want everyone to see everybody's qualities and, prioritizing them according to our needs, because I think everyone is unique and everyone has the right to be in that race, in that committee, or in that elections. And my role would just be to, choose the best option available for the SGA.
Thank you very much, Vishali. Are there any other questions? Senator Zacharias?
Hi. How would you try to increase student turnout in the SGA elections?
Turnout, people will be interested when they know all the pros and cons of this position, and all the inside out of what SGA does and how is it helpful to them and to the students of Wichita State. Once they know, they would already feel like, yes, I have the quality to present it on the table, and my job is done then, because I cannot force everyone to join it. It's them, it's their gut feeling that will bring them to this race or competition.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions for the nominee? Great. Seeing none, thank you very much, Vishali. You can either stay or leave for debate. And we will now move into the debate period on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this nominee? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in negation of this nominee? Seeing none, we will now move into the voting period on this item. Go ahead and get out your iClicker apps and give it a vote. I will give it 5 more seconds. Okay. With 40 in favor, 2 against, and 3 abstentions, this bill passes. Congratulations, Vishali. You are now an election commissioner. We can now move on to item C. The clerk will read.
Item C is SB 63-068, appoint Kunza Mirage to the position of graduate senator, introduced by Vice President Haas and Speaker Olivia Babkin for themselves. By the authority vested in her as Vice President, by the Constitution and the laws of the Wichita State University Student Government Association, direct the appointment of Kunza Mirage to the position of graduate senator. This is referred to committee of the whole. It's laid upon the table with a 2/3 vote required.
Thank you, Clerk Fox. Vice President Haas, an authorship speech.
Yeah, Kunza is also a very passionate graduate student, and they wanted to get involved with SGA in order to represent the graduate student population, and I think that they'll do a great job at that.
Kunza was unable to attend our meeting due to a prior commitment for tonight only, so they will not be here to speak. Are there any questions for the Vice President about this bill? Seeing none, we can now move into the debate period on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this nominee? Senator Zacharias.
I motion to postpone this legislation until next week when the candidate may be able to speak to the Senate.
We can do that if you all would like, but I will say that next week's meeting is going to be a very, very long one, as it will be our first introduction of the student fee bill. And I intend for that to be one of the only items on our agenda. So with that being said, would you still like to go forward with your motion?
Yes, I actually thought about that. We would still address it in unfinished business before we would address the student fees bill in new business. And I think that it would not impair our time that greatly. And I think that especially if we're going to add a senator that represents so many students that feel underrepresented, we should hear from them.
Okay, so do we have a second on that motion? And the motion is to table this bill until next meeting.
Second.
Senator Mounts with a second. Vice President
Olivia?
Haas, did you have a comment?
Yeah, can I suggest maybe, would it be helpful if I listed their goals out and sent them to the senators? Like the goals that were given to me in the interview, because I know that that's not a lot to work, the legislation isn't a lot to work off of, but I could type up the goals from the interview that I got.
So basically what we can do right now is we can go forward with this motion to table it for tomorrow. Or if we decide to still go over it today, Vice President Haas can read their goals to the Senate now. So those are the two options that we are put forward with. So we can vote yes on this motion to table it, or we can go forward with it today and have Vice President Haas read the goals. So with that being said, you can either vote yes or no to table it until tomorrow. Please do so by clicking yes or no on your Zoom screen.
Tomorrow?
Sorry, next week. Next meeting. Still waiting on 4 people to vote. I'll give it like 30 seconds or so. Okay, with 10 in favor and 31 against and 4 abstentions, this fails, and we will continue to talk about this bill today. So Vice President Haas, if you would not mind, please read the goals that they had on their application.
So sorry, I was trying to get it open. Just give me 1 second, you guys. Okay. So they're a graduate student majoring in chemistry, getting their PhD in chemistry. They wanted to apply because they wanted someone who is responsible and can show leadership at the table representing them. They have been involved in previous governments and student governments in previous colleges that they have been to, and would like to get some experience and share their experiences that they have already had. And then they've interacted with a few people from SGA who hold positions of responsibility and work for the students. Their main goal is to represent international and graduate students. They would want to be interacting with students, hear them out, know the goals and how they can achieve them, and then represent identities that they may identify with as well, and just hear everybody's perspective, but also advocate for their individual constituents. Those are the notes that I took from their interview. So those are the things that kind of stuck out to me. stuck out is not a word, stuck out to me. So if you guys have any other questions, I would be more than happy to maybe answer.
Are there any questions for Vice President Haas about this candidate or nomination? Sorry. Great, seeing none, we can now move into the debate period on this item. Is there anyone who would like to speak in affirmation of this candidate, this nominee? Wow, cannot speak today. Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in negation for this nominee? Seeing none, we will now move into the voting period on this item. Go ahead and pull out your iClicker apps. Again, A is yes, B is no, and C is abstain. And I do keep record of how everyone votes, so if you don't vote, I know who you are. So you gotta vote. It's important. It's the whole reason we're here. Still waiting on 5 people, 4 people, 3 people. Give it 5 seconds. Okay. 40 in favor, 2 against, and 3 abstentions. This bill passes. Congratulations, Kunsa. I know you're not here, but you are now a graduate senator. We can now move on to item D. The clerk will read.
Item D is FB 63-012, Jennifer Alfaro, individual funding, introduced by Crystal Zacharias for herself to authorize the allocation of $100 to Jennifer Alfaro. Refer to the Committee of the Whole from Budget and Finance. This is the first read, so no vote is required.
I just accidentally closed the class for iClicker, but I just reopened it, so you're gonna have to join the class again. My apologies. Vice President Haas, Crystal Zacharias, or goodness gracious, Senator Zacharias, your authorship speech about this funding, though.
I yield my time to Chairperson Hull.
Senator Hull, go ahead.
Yes, give me 1 second. Yes, so Jennifer came to us and asked for funding to go to a conference, and she was so passionate about going to this conference, being able to further her career and do what she loves when it comes to engineering. And I really think that this funding will help her achieve her goals for the future. So,
are there any questions for Senator Hull about this bill? Seeing none, as this is a first read, we will move into the debate period on this item next week. So we can now move on to item E. The clerk will read.
Item E is FB 63-013, Obaid Rahman funding bill, introduced by Senator Martin for themselves to authorize the allocation of $100 to IF 006-Obaid Rahman, referred to whole from Budget and Finance. Vote required is none. This is the first read.
Thank you very much. Senator Martin, do you have an authorship speech?
Yes, he came to us wanting $100 to help him attend the American Society of Mechanical Engineering 2020 International Mechanical Engineering Conference and Exposition. He's been conducting his PhD dissertation on the topical area of vehicle crashworthiness and pedestrian impact protection, which is of significant interest to the academia as well as the history, as well as the industry. And he has 2 papers, I do believe, in that conference that he is going to present, which is.
Are there any questions for the author? Great, seeing none, we will move into the debate period on this item next week. And we can now move on. So there's a lot of stuff in committee that is really, really, really important right now. The Student Fees Revamp and Overhaul Act is a big big act with a lot of major changes to everything that is happening. This might be the most important piece of legislation we do this session. So it's incredibly important that you go through it, that you have questions for next week when it's on the floor, because it's the only thing we're going to talk about, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions, because there's a lot of changes. And I really want everyone to think critically about it, decide if this is something you really, really want to do. The committee's been working on it for 5 months. So this is huge. It's like 30 pages long. It's big. So please review it as much as possible. It's in this legislative packet, so you can start reviewing it now. But it's this and then the 2 funding bills. That's what's on next week's agenda. That's it, because I want us to put all our focus on this while we're talking about it. So with that, we can now move into officer reports. And I will give my report. So this week I had a couple meetings with student organizations. Again, I'm working on making sure that we're representing all of these underrepresented groups as best as we possibly can. And hopefully I have some legislation on that here pretty soon. We finalized the student fee bill. It was great. Top 10 meeting that we had last Friday to actually finalize that. I had my bi-weekly meeting with President Khan and Advisor Fonseca, where we talk about what both branches are doing, update each other about initiatives, things we can work on together, things like that. I've also met with President Khan a few times talking about what potential there is for us moving forward with dealing with the search for a new president and the potential for a new interim president and things like that. So I've been having a lot of those kinds of meetings, and then I did all the other normal things that I do with my job. So are there any questions for me about my report? Great. Seeing none, Senator Flores has decided to resign from their position as the Diversity, Empowerment, and Inclusion Committee, and Senator Gums will be serving as the interim Diversity, Empowerment, and Inclusion Committee chairperson. So until we have a new person on the floor for that, she will be serving in that position. I can't, if you have a report, Senator Gums, you may go ahead and give one. If not, we can move on to Senator Liu.
I do not have a report.
Okay, thank you, Senator Gums. So Senator Liu, go ahead, your report.
Yeah, so last week in committee, I had several committee members working on ideas on how to make better the student experience, particularly as it relates to Blackboard. And with the ideas, what I hope to do is when faculty senate committees finally start meeting, to present them to the proper committee and see what can be done in faculty senate. I also have been reaching out to, I also have had committee members reach out to students at other universities regarding income share agreements and see if we can schedule meetings with said students to talk about the pros and cons of income share agreements. That being said, the current status of that is I've been directed to several directors and administrators of these income share agreements, and I will be reaching out to them to get their perspective on income share agreements. And as for faculty senate, I forgot to include this in my report last week, but in last week's faculty senate, there was a proposal to eliminate midterm grades entirely. The reasoning for such a proposal was the fact that only about 12 or 11% of faculty actually report midterm grades, and just the low usage they believe warrants such a proposal to eliminate them. If you're interested in seeing what the proposal said, it will be in my report and you can take a look for yourself. With that being said, anyone have any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Senator Liu? Great, seeing none, Senator Hull, your report.
Hi, everyone. So most of my week was filled with student fees. Obviously meeting with that task force. And then Treasurer James and I had a lot of conversations of fixing wording and all of that kind of stuff to do the final touches of what you will see in the coming weeks. Speaker Babin has already sent it out. So I also had our bi-weekly meeting with the budget team about where we are financially as well. And then I finished the organization appropriations bill, which is currently in committee as well. That's kind of like the baby version of the student fees process. So the final thing that I have is Treasurer James and I will be scheduling, hopefully tomorrow or Friday, for times that you all can bring questions to us about the student fees bill. I would highly recommend you read that way in advance, read it about 10 times in order to figure out what questions you have, in what ways, if you would want to change it or what you like, and then you can bring them. If you have any questions, we will be having those open questioning periods or whatever throughout the week that we will be able to answer those. So,
Senator Sahel, did you have a question for Senator Hull?
I do not have like a direct question to Senator Hull, but is there any possibility that you will be able to send us that packet separate than the legislative packet? Like you can email us the whole thing, email like in a PDF or a Word document form.
Yeah, I can send that out tonight. I'll put it on my to-do list. So I'll just throw this out there for everyone. So there's two versions of the student fee legislation. So basically there's the legislation that goes through and is exactly what everything is, exactly what the verbiage is, tells you, I mean, that it's the bill, it's what's actually going to be changed. And then I also have a version that's the proposal. And the proposal is a little more digestible of like what all the information is without having to go through and very detailed read everything. So I will send you both. But just know that the actual bill and legislation is the real version. But I'm also sending you like a slightly more digestible version. Please still read the legislation, the actual legislation, but it might make it easier to understand to send both. So, Senator Hull.
Yeah, one last thing that I wanted to make the Senate aware of is we have had conversations with all of the budget officers that come to us for student fees as well. So they are aware of the possible changes. And we heard some of their feedback and changed some things before we sent it to you all. So that everybody that student fees affects is going to be in the loop. So that's it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Senator Hull? Senator Hull? Never mind. Okay. All right, we can now move on to item E. Senator Day, your report.
Hello, everyone. I actually did a fair amount this week. I'll try to keep it relatively concise. This is a little bit out of order. I did this in a different order that I'm going to describe it, just FYI. I met with the Director of Dining Services to discuss some questions I had regarding dining. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of depth about that. I just asked him some stuff about food insecurity, some programs related to that, and dining dollars, and also the labeling in the dining hall that some people find to be suboptimal. My committee is also working to find solutions to common student complaints about the parking situation on campus. Specifically, first of all, the parking, specifically the parking garage. Senator Langenberger, thank you for emailing someone in parking services. Sorry, Gabe, I should have let you know about that. Yeah, we haven't heard back yet. And she also asked that person about the parking passes, because for those who don't know, the parking rate for parking passes, you're so expected if you ever visit campus as a student to pay $75 a semester or $150 a year in order to be able to visit campus. This is an issue, of course, because a lot of people don't visit campus that often. The vast majority of the student body does not, for a variety of reasons related to COVID-19. So we're hoping to address that and find some information about that, about the administration's perspective related to that. I'll speed this up. I reached out to the International Office of Student Health regarding the insurance for international students. We're working on that. It appears to be largely a K-Bar issue. I'll talk to President Khan about that. And this is important. The safety walk is less than 2 weeks away. Please attend if you are interested in protecting the physical safety of students on campus. Masks and social distancing are required, so bring both. I don't have a ton of updates related to that. Just please attend if you are interested, and you're strongly encouraged to. I was also involved in the Student Publication Board and the Student Fees Task Force. Please ask me any questions if you have any, and outside of this format, if you have any questions about the student fees stuff.
Are there any questions for Chairperson Day? Senator
Sure.
Sahil?
Yeah, so only thing is the parking fees. Will be any, like, are you talking to reduce it, or are you going to make any changes to it?
I mean, I don't have the direct power to do that. I'm hoping to advocate for students with regards to that in some capacity. We talked about resolution. We talked about talking to administrators. So yeah, I'll wait and see about that.
Are there any other questions for Chairperson Day? Seeing none, Chairperson Perkins, your report.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep this as brief as possible because there's a few things I want to hit on to make sure you guys know that are happening. So the first thing, this is just a continued theme. We're continuing to do a bunch of voter education presentations. That's taking a lot of my time. I don't have to go super into it, but shout out to Senator Laris for all the help that she's been giving with those. I've been attending every single one of those, so that's taking a lot of my time. Doing a lot. All that stuff is good. We've been able to recruit a lot of poll workers through that, which transitions perfectly into my next point, because tonight we voted to approve an association resolution by unanimous consent in support of student poll workers. That will come before the Senate next week. So you guys get to see that, but shouldn't be super controversial. It's helping our democracy. I've also drafted another association resolution regarding some early voting stuff. That's going to go through our committee next week, so we still have a couple weeks before that will come to you guys. And then I've also been working with Senator Eyrig and discussed this with Speaker Babin about the creation of an association lobbying process. That's something that's lacking from our bylaws, and I think that's kind of a concern because right now there's no guidelines for how lobbying happens to the state and local level. That seems concerning to me, so we're drafting that right now, and once again, that'll probably be sent. We're drafting that right now. It'll probably be sent to Ways and Means next week. Then you'll probably see it in the future. So great times. Then yeah, I don't have to go too much in. I had our general update meeting with the chair of the director of government relations for the university. Got some updates there. Nothing super relevant to you guys. There's some comments about the new testing facility, but I'm not an expert on that, so probably not the best person to talk to. But I'd be happy to talk with you guys privately if you want more information about what has been the work of the director of government relations on the state and federal level recently. Probably not the platform for that right now, but be happy to talk about that with you individually. Feel free to message me. But yeah, with that, sorry, try not to ramble too long. I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Senator Perkins. Are there any questions? Great, seeing none. Sorry for my absence. My body is not made to sit for like 2 hours. So Senator Majors, go ahead, your report.
All right, so as you all saw, we brought the final alterations to the Scram bill. Thank you everyone for your diligence on that legislation. Also today we have confirmed 2 more RSOs, or at least forwarded them to the Senate with recommendation to pass. I think there's some great student organizations that'll really benefit the university. Again, we're looking forward to the Senate Review Board and alterations possible with this process. Hopefully the task force on Supreme Court will get started soon. So I'd like to echo the sentiment of Speaker Babin. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, whatever it may be, please reach out to either her or myself or anyone on the committee whenever it is established. And then, yeah, review along to the student fees bill is absolutely essential, absolutely necessary. This is dramatic legislation. This is a complete overhaul. So yeah, please review that if anything else this week, or if nothing else this week rather. That's what I've been doing a lot. And then lastly, this is just a rough draft of an initial thought, but I'm thinking about now bringing it to the Ways and Means Committee. But I'm kind of interested in either establishing a committee for the review of position hours and pay, or delegating more powers to the Budget and Finance, creating some sort of process by which they could, take requests for more hours or requests for more pay. This is just an initial thought. So if anyone would like to reach out to me and, help me formulate a thought or give me their thoughts as well, I would be interested in that. But other than that, that's my report. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Senator Majors? All right, great. That is it for officer reports. So we can now move into item 11, association reports. Item A, Student Body Vice President Mackenzie Haas, go ahead and give the executive branch report.
Hi, everyone. I hope your Wednesday is going well. I'll jump right in to our treasurer's report. The task force on student fees just wrapped up, and he's proud of all the hard work that senators have put in. Chairperson Hull will be setting up listening sessions in case you have questions about it, so reach out to her for more information on that, or Zachary or Treasurer James for more information. He and President Khan met this morning with Acting President Muma about it, and he seems on board so far, but plans on reading more of it himself. Aside from that, he's been putting forward funding bills and met with Johnny, Gabe, and Maggie yesterday for our budget team meeting and talked about office expenses. So he and Gabe will start working on student fees committee and the SGA budget very soon. Okay, the director of media has been working on Latinx Heritage Month videos still. And then the director of public relations says that SGA will be buying free small custards at Freddy's on Tuesday, October 13th from 1 to 2. So that'll be just to engage with students. And then he is helping the director of media with graphics requests for the safety walk and the free custard event. He's finalizing details for the next town hall, either at the end of October or beginning of November. And the goal of that town hall is to discuss university operations, academic affairs, and student affairs after the move to online after Thanksgiving break and into the spring semester. He is also working on the diversity class with David Liu. He set up a meeting with Dr. Marche Fleming Randall about this to discuss the diversity class and the requirements for that. For myself, I've set up a meeting with Tajane Stalker to see how SGA can be a resource for the ICT community fridge. And I've set the goals for the Health and Wellness Advisory Board, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be hosting our first meeting pretty soon, probably by the end of the month for sure. Moving on to President Khan's report. In regards to events, the Title IX Town Hall took place on Tuesday. You can see it on WSU YouTube and watch it to learn more about Title IX and the changes that have been made to Title IX this year. The Shocker Support Locker has a huge donation to pick up tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. And if anyone would like to support or would like to help out, it would be greatly appreciated. You will want to arrive at the Shocker Support Locker, Grace Wilkie 103 at 10:45 a.m. And then that's tomorrow. Commencement. Ridja and I will be there all day Saturday and a part of Friday for commencement. And then ICT Youth Forum is next Thursday. Newman will be hosting an event for county commissioners, and Ridja will be one of the moderators. So feel free to send questions her way. Actually, I think Gabe has a form for questions, so that may be going out. But it'll be a really great event. I'm almost 100% sure it's live streamed. So definitely check that out next Thursday. So some updates at the KBOR level, there's been a lot of work being done, and President Khan has had meetings with President Flanders and other presidents on our campus, the faculty, the other Senate presidents and more. And she has decided to write a statement for KBOR to make sure Dr. Rick Muma, or to ask that Dr. Rick Muma is interim president while advocating for more university folks on the president's search committee. We are advocating that Dr. Muma is interim president because with COVID putting the university in kind of a weird position, we would rather him be interim president as of right now, because he understands the university and knows the ins and outs of everything, and will work with us as well in getting our goals accomplished, and understands where our goals have been and what our path forward is, especially through the pandemic. So long story short, we're asking KBOR to make him interim president, along with we along with the other presidents, are asking for him to terminate until they create a search committee, in which case things will happen. Anywho, that statement is going out on Friday to KBOR. And then the work of within different buildings and policy changes on our campus still is going on. Are there any questions for me? I'm sorry if I didn't explain anything well.
Are there any questions for Vice President Haas? All right, seeing none, we can now move into item B, the advisor's report.
Yes, I'm going to echo what others have said. As soon as you get the information for the listening sessions for student fees, especially if you have never seen student fees before. So all of our new senators, I'm looking at you, even though you can't see me looking at you. I would encourage you to attend those so you can spend some time looking over it. And when you get it, please read it. Because again, there are some significant adjustments there as well. This month will be focused primarily on student fees. We have budget shortfalls to address and other things that relate to student fees. So we will be talking about it probably for the rest of the month and into early November. So stay tuned for that. We'll also be opening the process for developing the student government's budget for student fees. So that will also be a lovely conversation that we'll spend probably November through December talking about approving the student government's request to student fees as well. When this meeting is over, if you are a caucus leader, I need you to stay on after the meeting. If you are a senator in an area that doesn't have a caucus leader, so David and others, please stay on as well. So again, if you are a caucus leader, please stay on after the meeting. I promise it won't be long. That is all I have.
Are there any questions for the advisor about their report? Great, seeing none, we can now move into remarks and announcements. Are there any remarks and announcements? Well, that's perfect because I have a lot. At 10:45 in the morning tomorrow, the Shocker Support Locker needs help with a large delivery coming in. So if you need to get your Senator Hour in for next week, that is a great opportunity and you get to help our Shocker Support Locker. So please, if you're able, you can meet at the Senate Suite around 10:30 and then everyone will walk over to the Shocker Support Locker at 10:45 to help them with the delivery. So that's one of them. The other one I have is on Tuesday at 7 p.m. There's the ICT Youth-Led Candidate Town Hall. So all of the colleges or the universities in Wichita, so Wichita State, Friends University, and Newman are all joining together. Our student governments are to do a candidate forum for local candidates. I will be speaking there. I'm sure there are other people who are as well. So yes, that is on Tuesday at 7. This is a random one. When you make a motion, you say I move, not I motion. So grammatically, you should be saying I move to do this, not I motion to do this. That is an incoherent sentence. So just FYI for everyone, it's I move. Also, the Supreme Court Committee, I will be, Senator Majors and I will be putting forward our people for we're gonna make that committee and hopefully get that work started next week. Yeah, Senator Zacharias, it is, if you say with a motion, that is correct. But you yourself, when you say I do something, it's I move, not I motion. Grammar, folks, grammar. But yeah, so the Supreme Court Committee will be put together next week. So if you are interested in that, please reach out to Senator Majors or I to talk about that. Another one, it is a requirement by the Kansas Open Meetings Act that if you are a senator and voting, which means everyone who is a senator, you must have your camera on at all times. Always, throughout the meeting, your camera must be on in pursuant with state law. So that's not a joke. That is definitely something that we have to do. Last one, your senator hours are due at midnight. I have been going through and approving them all and keeping track of who is turning in their senator hours and who is not. If you have not turned in your senator hours, I will be contacting you next week. We gotta turn them in. It's really easy. It's a real quick form. I'm not super picky about how you complete your hours. So all you have to do is just like one thing every week relating to Senate, and I say you did your hour. So please fill out your senator hours. That is all of my remarks and announcements. Senator Perkins, take it away.
I'm sorry, I also have a few announcements just because some deadlines are coming up. So quick announcement, there's a panel tomorrow about the importance and impact of voting that Gabe and I are co-moderating with some local leaders. So please attend that. It's at 5:30 tomorrow. We'll stream live on YouTube. I'll share the reminder with a link in the group meet tomorrow. Then some deadlines. So the last voter registration drive is happening on campus Monday. So that's the day before the deadline to register to vote on Tuesday. If you are wanting to vote in Kansas, you can be registered in multiple states at once. So if you want to vote in Kansas, you can register in Kansas. The deadline is Tuesday. I'm assuming a lot of you guys are engaged. You're probably registered, but talk to your friends, make sure they're registered, make sure they're creating a plan to vote. And then I also want to know if you are an out-of-state senator or if you know out-of-state students, specifically senators or specifically students, sorry, they're from Oklahoma or Missouri, they will, and they're voting by mail, they will have to have their ballot notarized to be able to send it back and have their ballot counted. So if that is the case, go to the post office on campus. They can get their ballot notarized for free, but it's important that they do that or their vote will be thrown out. So do that, talk to your friends about that are out of state from Oklahoma and Missouri. There's other states too, but those are the most local regional states. So yeah, sorry for all the announcements, but important stuff coming up. Remember, Tuesday, deadline, register to vote, do it. Okay, that's it.
Senator Thomas.
Yeah, just super quick. I got my ballot notarized at the UPS store and they actually charge $6. I don't know about other places, but just be aware. That's all.
Thank you. Are there any other remarks and announcements? Again, this is a time for anyone can say anything you want. You can be kind of annoying like me and make parliamentary procedure notes for everyone. Okay, great. That's wonderful. We can now move into our final roll call. So please go ahead and vote. You can click any button, it doesn't matter. And reminder, caucus leaders, please stay after. I will give it about 30 more seconds for everyone to vote. If you don't vote now, you will not be counted as present for the meeting. So if you're having problems with iClicker, you need to let me know so I can still count you present. "15 seconds. All right, thank you all very much. With 41 people here, thank you all very much. Have a great meeting. I call this meeting to adjourn at 8:47 p.m. Have a great night. Don't forget to turn in your senator hours.
Speaker Bevan.
Yes.
I apologize